This is an age-old question. Should you upgrade that property before you releasing? In other words, let's say if you have a commercial property that came vacant because the tenant moved out. Now the question is that should you upgrade that building so that to re-tenant it? In this video, I am going to share all these tips what you should be doing. If you want to know, then stick around. Alright, should you upgrade? In simple word, the answer will be no. And let me explain why I'm saying no. The first thing is that a commercial building does not have much of an emotional value. So you want to rent it out to a tenant who is actually a business people and you don't know who that person is. So it's very difficult for you to just actually upgrade and do all these things and spend a lot of money but then not knowing the tenant. What I would suggest you to do the other way around. You find the tenant first and understand their requirement, what they need, and then based on that you will upgrade and you are going to do this. By doing these things in the other way around, then for sure when you are fixing things, then you know that you are doing this as per the tenant's requirement. The second thing that you are also doing is that you are locking in the money that you are spending. It is being utilized properly because the tenant is going to sign probably 5 years lease, 7 years lease, sometimes 10 years lease, provided you give all these things. Let me give you an example. Let's say you have a big industrial building and that property right now at the time of the last month it was rented for 100,000 per year and the tenant actually moved out for whatever reason. Now you want a new tenant. So rather than upgrading that place, what you now doing that you put up in the market that say the lease is this much of the things and this will be the fit out that will be put by the tenant, by the owner, or you will be putting it out. So what you now doing that, let's say prospective tenant came and then you are talking to them, said yeah, and then they are asking, yeah, I'm happy to sign a $150,000 lease with 150,000 every year. The rent is going to go up 3% provided you do this, and then it is much easier for you to pay for this because now you know that your rent has gone up from 100,000 to 150,000 and also it has been locked in for next 5 years. And guess what? If the rent goes up, so does your property value. So because the property value is already going up as a signing of 3 years or 5 years lease, then you would not be problematic for you to spend amount of this fit out cost. That is the way of doing it, rather than first you fit out and do these things building nicely and then you are looking for a tenant, and by the time you look for a tenant, that tenant might not need that one. So it's better to always find a tenant first and then you would be upgrading it. So again, the question that we wanted to talk about is that should you upgrade first? The answer is no. When do you upgrade? Once you find the tenant. Once you find the tenant, understand tenant's requirements and then have a negotiation, have a long-term lease. Perhaps instead of 3 years, you can go for a 5 years lease, 10 years lease, and you are happy to give you little bit more money spending. Remember, anything that you are spending on the building, it is your building. It is going to stay with the building. Because it is going to stay in the building, you are uplifting the building value, and on top of that is the lease is longer term. If you want to sell that property after this, it will be much easier because the lease is longer versus trying to sell that in vacant property. So this is also sometimes called tenant incentives, initially to attract the tenant, but you also put the tenant incentives once you find the tenant, not before, because if you do this before, then you don't know and you might be taking a little bit of more risk in terms of the fit out. I hope you got that idea. I hope you got some insights about when to do these things, when you do that fit out or upgrade that building. If you like this video, then subscribe our channel, turn the notification bell on so that you get to see more videos like this. Thank you so much and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Come and join me in this free webinar where I am going to lay down the path, step-by-step process, how you can become financially independent through commercial property investing. Click in the link below.